Muhammad, peace be upon him, the prophet. One night, in the year 610 CE, God sent the angel Gabriel with revelation to Muhammad, peace be upon him. This was one of the most significant events in human history. It marked the beginning of his prophethood and transformed his life entirely. As the prophet of God receiving divine inspiration, all his endeavors henceforth were devoted to leading humanity back to the pure worship of God. He led an earnest life based on the most sublime values, initiating tremendous changes in Arabia and beyond. Whereas earlier he removed himself from the social and spiritual corruption in Mecca, he now proactively worked to reform it. Muhammad, peace be upon him, called his fellow Meccans to cease their worship of idols and to affirm the oneness of God. He also invited them to a life of righteousness and piety. He warned them of an afterlife where they will be held accountable for their earthly deeds and also gave joyful news of paradise to those who believed and lived a God-conscious life. Like previous prophets, Muhammad's message was rejected by many of his people. They insisted on maintaining the religious and social customs of their ancestors. The elite mocked Muhammad, accusing him of deceit and madness, the same man whom they freely trusted and honored before. Only a few people believed in him. Particularly the poor and disadvantaged who were attracted to his message due to its emphasis on equality and justice. Prophet Muhammad and his small group of followers endured persecution for 13 years in Mecca. Eventually, they were forced to leave Mecca and migrate to Medina, a city whose people eagerly welcomed them. Here, Muhammad established the very first Islamic society which eliminated the spiritual and social problems rampant in the Arabian Peninsula. Freedom of religion was instituted in Medina, women were honored and respected as equals, racial discrimination was practically eliminated, tribal warfare was replaced with united ties of brotherhood, usury and alcohol were completely forbidden. The French historian, Alphonse de Lamartine, has stated, if greatness of purpose, smallness of means, and astounding results are the three criteria of human genius, who could dare to compare any great man in modern history with Muhammad? When comparing his life before and after becoming a messenger, it becomes clear that God enabled him to attain this stature and renown through his prophethood. By the end of his life in 622 CE, the powerful teachings of Islam had overcome even its most ardent enemies. Convinced by the truth of Muhammad's message and inspired by the purity of his character, the entire Arabian Peninsula embraced Islam. Yet, some individuals have alleged that Muhammad, peace be upon him, was not a true messenger of God but a sham. This reflects a poor understanding of his teachings, personality and life achievements. Many non-Muslim intellectuals throughout history have attested to the impossibility of this view. The British historian, Drive Montgomery Watt, addresses this perspective in his writing, his readiness to undergo persecutions for his beliefs, the high moral character of the men who believed in him and looked up to him as leader, and the greatness of his ultimate achievement all argue his fundamental integrity. To suppose Muhammad an impostor raises more problems than it solves. Moreover, none of the great figures of history is so poorly appreciated in the West as Muhammad. In Life of Muhammad, the famous American intellectual, Washington Irving, wrote, in his private dealings, he was just. He treated friends and strangers, the rich and poor, the powerful and weak, with equity, and was beloved by the common people for the affability with which he received them, and listened to their complaints. In the time of his greatest power he maintained the same simplicity of manners and appearance as in the days of his adversity. He was displeased if, on entering a room, any unusual testimonials of respect were shown to him.